Hello, welcome to Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert, coming to you live from the capital city of Akwa Ibom. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Tinubu returns after AU meeting in Kenya. Federal government confirms first anthrax case in Niger. Plus, U.S. lawmakers extend social media investigation to Meta's new app, Threads. Details of these stories and more in a moment. First in the news tonight is a report that President Bola Tinubu has arrived at the presidential wing of the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport at about 4:20 p.m., returning to Abuja from Nairobi, Kenya, where he participated in the 5th Media Coordination Meeting of the African Union AU. The president was received at the airport by top government functionaries led by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Judge Akome. Others in the welcome party were Chief of Staff to the President Femi Gbajabiamila, Imo Governor Hope Uzodinma, and former Kano State Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje. President Tinubu was at the meeting in his capacity as the chairman of the authority of the heads of state and government of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS. Among issues discussed at the Nairobi meeting were deliberations and conclusions reaffirming Africa's unity and strength and rejection of a new scramble for Africa. Tinubu also committed to strengthening the ECOWAS standby force to deter coups and terrorism in the sub-region. Away from that now, the federal government today confirmed the first case of anthrax in Nigeria, stating that the disease was detected in a farm in Niger State. On June 13, 2023, the federal government alerted the general public to the outbreak of anthrax disease in some neighboring countries within the West African sub-region and advised Nigerians to desist from the consumption of hides, otherwise known as pomo, at the moment. The federal government had specifically stated that the disease was widespread in northern Ghana, bordering Burkina Faso and Togo, as it also promised to keep the Nigerians updated on developments about the disease. In a statement issued in Abuja today, the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development stated that it was deeply concerned to announce the confirmation of an anthrax case in Niger State, Nigeria. Meanwhile, the federal government is set to unveil a new program, Pulaku Solution, geared towards ending the insecurity in the northwest region. The Vice President Kashim Shettima disclosed this to journalists when he visited the Kano State Government House. The Vice President, who had earlier paid homage to the Emir Bichi, said that the insecurity in the northwest region could only be resolved through kinetic and non-kinetic means. Reports say the development comes less than 2 weeks after President Bola Tinubu told the recently appointed service chiefs that there is work to be done. From the Red Chambers now, where the 10th Senate has said reports that it pardoned the supplementary budget which was passed into law last week were mischievous. The upper legislative chamber was reacting to reports in some online news outlets that a sum of 70 million naira was padded into the supplementary budget as a gift from the executive arm of government. Statement issued by the Chairman, Senate Committee on Media and Public Affairs, Senator Yemi Adaramodu, and made available to newsmen in Abuja. He wondered how the purveyors arrived at such reports, stating that passing laws was exclusive to lawmakers, hence they needed no gift from the executive arm of government before doing their work. The statement asserted that the passage of the Supplementary Appropriation Act was to accommodate funding for the federal government's palliative for the Nigerian public, among other national demands. Meanwhile, the President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, says the 10th Assembly will pass quality legislation that will raise the standard of education in the country. Akpabio made the pledge during the 10th National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies NILDS, University of Benin, UNIBEN, matriculation ceremony for postgraduate programs in Abuja today. Represented by the Deputy Senate President, Senator Jibrin Barrow, Akpabio implored the matriculating students to see the opportunity of their admission as a great privilege, as the knowledge they will acquire cannot be found in conventional universities. He said that the programs would offer the matriculants the needed knowledge to contribute to the nation's democracy and to national development. From the Green Chambers now, where the House of Representatives has screened the recently appointed service chiefs, the reports say the screening exercise, which took the same format as the Senate, held largely behind closed doors. The service chiefs appointed by President Bola Tinubu include Major General Christopher Musa, Chief of Defense Staff, Major General Taurid Labaja, Chief of Army Staff, Rear Admiral Emmanuel Agala, Chief of Naval Staff, and Air Vice Marshal Hassan Abubakar, Chief of Air Staff. Meanwhile, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, has said that the 10th Assembly will revisit the bill seeking constitutional roles for traditional rulers in the country. The Speaker stated this during a visit to the Emir of Zazzau in Zaria, Kaduna State, Ahmed Bamali. Abbas, who was welcomed to the palace, disclosed that majority of the members of the current House of Representatives understood the importance of the traditional institution in the affairs of the country. He added that he is aware of a written document by the Traditional Rulers Council across the 6 geopolitical zones about 3 years ago, stated how they want the traditional institutions to function in the present dispensation and promised to revisit the position of the traditional rulers. In politics now, the Deputy National Chairman, North of the All Progressives Congress APC, Senator Abubakar Kyari, has emerged as the party's national chairman. Kyari succeeded Senator Abdullahi Adamu as the party's chairman after a National Working Committee NWC meeting in Abuja today. Briefing reporters after the NWC meeting, Kyari formally announced the resignation of Adamu and Senator Yola Omishore as the party's national chairman and national secretary, respectively. Kyari further said that in line with the constitution of the party, the Deputy National Secretary Festus Fuente will serve as the acting national secretary of the APC. Adamu was absent from the NWC meeting today, while Omishore stormed out of the meeting held at the party secretariat in Abuja. Kyari, who represented Borno North Senatorial District in the 9th National Assembly, presided over the APC NWC meeting. In education now, the Director General of the National Youth Service Corps, Brigadier General Yushau Ahmed, has urged corps members in the 2023 Batch B Stream 1 currently undergoing their orientation exercise to embrace and acquire vocational skills through the scheme's Skill Acquisition and Development Program. Ahmed gave the advice during his address to corps members at the Katsina and Borno States NYC Permanent Orientation Camps. In a statement by the Director of Press and Public Relations of the NYC, Eddie Megwa, today, the DG told the corps members that the in-camp training was designed to expose them to entrepreneurship skills during their 3-week orientation period, while the post-camp training period would help them to fully perfect their skills towards self-employment. Moving on now to the judiciary, where a federal high court Abuja has fixed July 21 for arraignment of Senator Stella Odua and others by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC). Justice Inyang Ekwo fixed the date after EFCC's counsel Hassan Liman prayed the court to allow the defendants take their plea, having filed the charge against them since December 17, 2020. Reports say the EFCC had sued Odua alongside Gloria Odita, Ngosu Emmanuel Namdi, and Chukwuma Irene Chinyere. Others include Global Offshore and Marine Limited, Tip Top Global Resources Limited, Crystal Television Limited, Sobora International Limited, and others. The senator who represented Anambra North Senatorial District at the 9th National Assembly was scheduled to be arraigned on alleged 5 billion naira fraud and financial misappropriation while she served as minister during the Jonathan administration. In the 25-count charge, they are accused of conspiracy, money laundering, and maintaining anonymous bank accounts with a commercial bank. Meanwhile, some constitutional and human rights lawyers have filed a contempt charge and commenced committal proceedings against the Director General of the Department of State Services (DSS), Yusuf Bichi. The move against Bichi, according to the lawyers, is a result of a violation of multiple judgments and orders of court directing the release of the suspended Central Bank of Nigeria Governor Godwin Emefiele from the custody of the agency led by Maxwell Okpara and Ahmed Tijani. The lawyers are praying that the court commits Bichi to prison until he purges himself of the contempt. In their motion filed before the court for the issuing of Form 48 and Form 49, which are the forms to commence proceedings to commit a contemnor to prison, the lawyers said by the judgments and orders of Justice M.A. Hassan, Justice Hamza Muazu, and Justice Bello Kau, the DSS DG ought to have released Emefiele from detention. In another development, the Nigeria Police Force (NPF) has withdrawn the Police Mobile Force (PMF) personnel previously attached to prominent individuals including Aisha Buhari, wife of former President Muhammadu Buhari, and his brother Maman Daura. Other personalities affected by the withdrawal include Boss Mustafa, the former Secretary to the Government of the Federation, and Iyorchia Ayu, the former Senate President. The order for the withdrawal was contained in a police wireless message obtained by newsmen today. According to the authorities, the move comes as part of an ongoing reassessment and reorganization of security details by the Nigeria Police Force. The decision aims to optimize the deployment of police personnel and ensuring the effective use of resources in line with prevailing security challenges in the country. In a separate development, now, the Controller of Nigerian Immigration Service (NIS) Kogi State Command, Taiwo Yunusa Musa, has bowed out after 35 years of active service. The pulling out parade took place at the command's headquarters in Lokoja today. At the well-attended ceremony, the representative of the National Orientation Agency (NOA), Aminat Usman, described Musa as a very active officer. The pulling out parade, which is part of the NIS tradition for retired senior officers, was well attended by all service chiefs and senior personnel in the state. Speaking with newsman, Musa said he felt honored and fulfilled after 35 years of movement from one state to another, leaving the family behind and all the issues that came with the job. In a separate development, Osun Assembly today passed a bill reverting the name of the state to Osun State from the state of Osun, given in 2012 by former Governor Rauf Aregbesola. The Assembly, through a bill called Osun State Anthem, Crest and Flag Amendment Bill 2023, reverted the name, flag and crest of the state from what they were after the bill was passed for third reading at the plenary session. Adewale Igbedun, the Assembly Speaker, said the bill would be forwarded to the Governor for assent. He said the new bill, after it is assented to by the Governor, would replace the Osun Anthem, Crest and Flag Bill 2012. The state anthem established by the old bill was, however, sustained by the new bill. The Assembly thereafter screened 13 of the 25 commissioner nominees who appeared before it. after the report of the ad hoc screening committee was adopted. Back in our Akwa Ibom State, Governor Pastor Moino has expressed interest to take over the Salvation Army Secondary School, Akwa Ibom, to allow it carry out desired interventions in the school, in line with the current administration's Arise agenda. The state governor gave the indication while speaking at the Akwa Ibom Southeast Zonal Headquarters of the Salvation Army Church, Akwa Ibom local government area, where a special condolence service was held in commiseration of the church's ministers who were involved in the June 29, 2023 auto crash that occurred on the Ovia River Bridge along Lagos-Benin Expressway. Governor Moore, who expressed the condolences of the state government to the Salvation Army and families of the fallen presbyters who were caught up in the tragedy on their return from a Church Officers Council conference in Lagos, explained that the visit with the full paraphernalia of government was indicative of value for the people of the state and respect for those affected by the incident. On the part of the government, Pastor Moino promised to ensure the name of the school is maintained and that principals sent to the school will be of the Salvation Army denomination after government takeover, while commending the church's efforts in sustaining the school over time. Government House correspondent Jainwa reports that, delivering a sermon at the service tagged Trusting God, called from Job 13, verse 15, the Salvation Army Divisional Director of Women Ministries, Akwa Ibom South East, Major Esther Uwak, admonished the church not to put their trust in humans, materials, or anything that is not eternal, but should find their hope in the Almighty and eternal God, as the biblical Job did. Still to come in the news. Brent crude oil falls below $79. Let's stay with us.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Every society is premised on the quality of relationships forged by its inhabitants. The health of these relationships determines how well people, relationships, organizations thrive and how long they stick together. Join Uyai Anyekan on Connect every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Sunday 2:30 to 3 p.m. on Channel 421 on StarTimes to catch all the conversations, interviews, real stories, and how to navigate relationships and family life in the 21st century. Real people, real faces, real stories. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
One truth not often told is about the transformation that Africa has undergone in recent decades. Africa is shaping its own destiny and should be referred to as the African opportunity. On Spotlight Africa, we paint the African picture the African way, laced with truth, detail, and the color of the African continent. Join Uyai Anyekan every Tuesday and Thursdays at 4:30 p.m. Spotlight Africa, telling the African story.
Thanks for staying tuned. As we move on now to Africa, where police investigating a doomsday cult in Kenya have now exhumed 403 bodies from the Shakahola forest after 12 more bodies were found today. Hundreds of people linked to the Good News International Church are believed to have either starved themselves to death, were badly beaten or strangled at the Shakahola forest in southeastern Kenya. The cult leader Paul Mackenzie preached that the world was about to end and allegedly convinced his followers to starve to death so they could see Jesus. Meanwhile, Mackenzie has not yet been formally charged. Still in Africa now, thousands of people yesterday gathered alongside President Faustin Archange Touadera in Bangui, the capital of the Central African Republic, to launch the referendum campaign on a new draft constitution that could allow the head of state stand for a third term. Touadera had delivered the new constitution draft to the campaign organizers at the end of June. If approved, the new constitution removes the limit of 2 terms to the president, therefore allowing the president to run for a third term in office. Reports say the draft constitution, which will also ban dual citizens from running for the top office, has triggered protests from the opposition, the latest of which was held last Friday, where opposition leaders led a march of around 500 people under heavy security from the Car Security Forces and United Nations peacekeeping mission MINUSCA. Meanwhile, millions of Ethiopians are expected to take part in a massive tree planting campaign, with the authorities saying they hope 500,000 seedlings will be planted in 12 hours. But simmering violence in some areas could hinder people coming out in large numbers. The move is part of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's Green Legacy initiative that has seen similar drives throughout the country's main rainy seasons over the last 4 years. In 2019, the government claimed 350 million seedlings were planted in a single day, something that has not been independently confirmed. At the time, authorities said more than 20 million people took part in the campaign. Meanwhile, questions were raised by some about the reliability of the figures provided. In the meantime, the European Union has signed a partnership deal with Tunisia's President Kais Saied, partly aimed at combating people trafficking. Reports say Tunisia has become the main departure point for migrants trying to cross the Mediterranean to Europe. Meanwhile, announcing the deal in Tunis, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen promised increased cooperation on border management, search and rescue operations. Elsewhere, a 5-story building has collapsed in Cairo, killing at least 8 people. According to reports, the building was located in a dense part of Hadayek El Kober in central Cairo. It is not uncommon for buildings to collapse in Egypt due to poor construction standards in some areas. So in Africa, former Twitter employees who were based in Ghana say the company has gone silent on all negotiations with their lawyers following the massive layoffs in November last year. They also say their severance packages have not been paid. Agency 77, which is representing the aggrieved former staff members, say Twitter has not communicated with them or the staff since May, when negotiations were almost concluded. The agency says the social media giant, through its legal team, had almost reached an agreement to pay the fired staff members 3 months' salaries and repatriation funds for those employed from outside Ghana, but it has remained quiet for weeks. Agency 77 says it is now exploring other ways to proceed. It fears that the lack of a settlement could set a bad precedent for how foreign-based companies treat employees in Ghana. It will be recalled that Twitter opened its only Africa office in Ghana last November and had about a dozen employees, but they were then laid off as part of a global staff curl introduced by Elon Musk when he bought the company. In the meantime, unidentified gunmen in Cameroon's biggest English-speaking city have killed at least 9 people, including a newly married couple, Simplice Lancy Somane, aged 37, and Helene Riza Tanga, aged 25, and were parents to 3 children and owned a phone shop. The attack in Bamenda is being blamed on separatist rebels. The gunmen arrived at a busy junction in 2 unmarked vehicles, shouting at people to lie down, but then started shooting when some panicked residents tried to run. Eyewitnesses say gunmen accused the victims of being blacklegs, suggesting they were either collaborating with the government or not respecting the orders of the separatists. On the foreign scene, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said today that millions of people are facing hunger and will pay the price of Russia's decision to exit the Ukraine grain deal. He told reporters at the United Nations headquarters in New York that the move by Moscow will strike a blow to people in need everywhere. Reports say hundreds of millions of people face hunger and that consumers are confronting a global cost of living crisis. The UN chief lamented that he deeply regretted Russia's decision, but added it would not stop the world body's efforts to facilitate the unimpeded access to global markets of food and fertilizers from Ukraine and Russia.
Security guarantees for navigation in the northwestern part of the Black Sea. The Black Sea Initiative, together with the Memorandum of Understanding on facilitating exports of Russian food products and fertilizers, have been a lifeline for global food security and a beacon of hope in a troubled world. With the decision to terminate the Black Sea Initiative, the Russian Federation also terminated its commitment to, and I quote, facilitate the unimpeded export of food, sunflower oil and fertilizers from Ukrainian-controlled Black Sea ports, end of quote, as expressed in paragraph 1 of the Memorandum of Understanding between the Russian Federation and the United Nations. And this is precisely why I sent a letter to President Putin with a new proposal to keep the Black Sea Initiative alive.
In a related development, the Kremlin has claimed 2 Ukrainian seaborne drones struck the Crimea bridge connecting the peninsula to Russia today, though it did not provide evidence for the allegation. Reports say Moscow has opened an official investigation into what the Russian Investigative Committee calls a terrorist act committed by the Special Services of Ukraine. Meanwhile, Russian authorities say a couple traveling by car was killed and their daughter was injured in the incident. In the meantime, Russia has notified the UN, Turkey and Ukraine that it will not renew a crucial grain deal that allowed Ukraine to export grain through the Black Sea. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said the agreements had reached a de facto end. According to Peskov, the deal let cargo ships pass through the Black Sea from the ports of Odessa, Chernomorsk and Yuzhny Pivdeny, but Moscow said it would return to the agreements if its conditions were met. In a related development, Sweden's government today announced it was pledging 6 billion kronor, that is $586 million, in aid to rebuild Ukraine and facilitate reforms to pave the way for EU membership. International Development Cooperation Minister Johan Forsell said the funds, which would be distributed between 2023 and 2027, were part of a newly developed aid strategy, specifically developed for Ukraine. Reports say the funds would be targeted to, among other things, help build up Ukrainian infrastructure and institutions such as healthcare. They would also be used to increase Ukraine's access to fossil-free energy and transition to greener technologies. Meanwhile, U.S. climate envoy John Kerry held 4 hours of talks with his Chinese counterpart in Beijing today, calling for urgent action as the two countries revived stalled diplomacy on reducing planet warming emissions. Reports say climate talks between the two biggest greenhouse gas emitters came to a halt last year after Nancy Pelosi, then Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, enraged Beijing by visiting self-ruled Taiwan, which China considers to be part of its territory. Kerry, a former Secretary of State, has enjoyed comparatively cordial and consistent relations with China, despite Washington and Beijing locking horns over Taiwan and other issues. Kerry met his Chinese counterpart Xie Zhenhua in Beijing today, with the two men speaking for around 4 hours. In the meantime, the United States House of Judiciary Chair Jim Jordan has asked Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg to hand over documents about content moderation on Threads. The request was in response to an earlier subpoena related to the panel's ongoing investigation of tech platforms' policies and contact with the President Joe Biden administration. According to reports, the move was an early indication of the added spotlight Meta's newest product could bring to the company in the US. Threads competes directly with Twitter, which owner Elon Musk wants to shape with his self-declared free speech absolutism in mind, despite at times suspending users, including journalists, while Meta executives have made clear they do not want news and politics to dominate the conversation on Threads. It has become a large part of what users have historically come to Twitter to discuss. Elsewhere, Iranian authorities have announced a new campaign to force women to wear the Islamic headscarf, and morality police returned to the streets 10 months after the death of a woman in their custody sparked nationwide protests. The morality police had largely pulled back following the death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini last September, as authorities struggled to contain mass protests calling for the overthrow of the theocracy that has ruled Iran for over 4 decades. The protests largely died down earlier this year following a heavy crackdown in which over 500 protesters were killed and nearly 20,000 detained, but many women continued to flout the official dress code, especially in the capital Tehran and other cities. General Saeed Montazerol Lamadi, a police spokesman, said the morality police would resume notifying and then detaining women not wearing hijab in public. Meanwhile, in Tehran, the men and women of the morality police could be seen patrolling the streets in marked vans. Now it's time for the latest business and stock market stories. Here is Blessing Dixon.
Thank you, Xavier Robert. Good evening. It's another business week. My name is Blessing Dixon. In the news, we begin with the energy market. Brent crude futures fell below $79 per barrel today, extending losses from the previous session after weaker than expected Chinese economic growth raised concerns about demand in the world's second biggest oil consumer. Additionally, 2 of the 3 Libyan oil fields shut down last week resumed production on Saturday evening, bringing a total output capacity of 370,000 barrels per day back to the market. Second quarter data showed China's economy grew by less than expected 6.3% from the previous year, with post-pandemic recovery facing challenges due to reduced demand from both domestic and international sources. Meanwhile, Russian oil exports from Western ports are set to decline by some 100,000 to 200,000 barrels per day next month from July levels as the country follows through on its pledge for supply cuts in tandem with the OPEC leader Saudi Arabia. Nigeria's inflation. Annual inflation rate in Nigeria accelerated for the 6th month to 22.79% in June 2023, the highest since September of 2005. The biggest upward contribution in May came from cost of foods and non-alcoholic beverages, namely oil and fat, bread and cereals, fish, potatoes, yam, fruits, meat, vegetable, milk, and cheese. Compared to the previous month, the consumer price index soared 2.1%, the most since May 2016. The Nigerian government declared a state of emergency to tackle rising food prices and shortages. Some of the initiatives include providing farmers with fertilizers and seed to mitigate the effect of subsidy removal and create a strategic food reserve to be used as a price stabilization mechanism for cereals and other foods. Meanwhile, Nigeria's new president, Bola Tinubu, removed fuel subsidy and loosened the restrictions on foreign exchange trading, leading to plunge in naira and a big raise in transport and import cost. Still in Nigeria, the Nigerian Institute of Transport Technology has revealed that the federal government has approved 9,000 licensed filling stations for the co-location of compressed natural gas or auto gas fuel dispensers. Amid the price of premium motor spirit, PMX, also known as petrol, rising from 500 naira per liter to 500 naira per liter from 189 naira. Alternatives are being sought to cushion the pain of the surge in fuel price. According to the institute, there are 50 conversion centers currently upgrading for mass conversion. Also, auto assemblers are already producing fit-for-purpose dual-fuel vehicles in the country, where gas production was between 8.15 billion to 8.35 billion standard cubic feet per day, as the country has gas reserves of about 209 trillion cubic feet. Already, the federal government is supporting the deployment of over 1 million conversion kits for trucks and smaller vehicles. It's time for the Nigerian stock market report. Today is the first trading day of the week and the bulls are back. Compared with Friday's trading data, today's data shows 18% improvement in volume, 57% improvement in turnover, but 6% decline in deals. The current market capitalization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange is 34.3 trillion naira. 117 listed equities participated in trading, ending with 42 gainers and 29 losers. Unilever Nigeria led the gainers with a 10% share price appreciation, closing at 15 naira 95 kobo per share. Sky Shelter Fund came out last with an end-of-day price depreciation of 10% at 69 naira 30 kobo per share. Sterling Bank recorded the highest volume of 65.9 million traded shares, followed by Transcorp Nigeria with 62.2 million shares and Unity Bank with 59.7 million shares. Regarding the performance of market indices, the benchmark all-share index moved up to 373.65 basis points to close at 62,943.35 points. This is all on business news. Back to you for the rest of the news.
Many thanks, Blessing. Still to come in the news. Okara's first player to qualify for 2023 NITO ATP Finals. Do stay with us. Many thanks for staying tuned. Now in health, from week 1 to 27 of 2023, a total of 170 deaths have been reported from Lassa fever, according to the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention. The reported deaths are with a case fatality rate CFR of 17.2%, which is lower than the CFR for the same period in 2022, being 19.6%. This is contained in the latest week of 25 to 27 update on Lassa fever outbreak in Nigeria, published by the NCDC today. The update noted that in week 27 of 2023, the number of new confirmed cases decreased from 10 in epidemiological week 26, 2023 to 6 cases. This was reported from Ondo, Edo, Ebonyi, and Benue states. Still in health now, the Nigerian Medical Association NMA Cross River State chapter has embarked on an indefinite strike following the alleged kidnap of its member Ekanem Ephraim from her residence in Calabar by armed men pretending to be patients. The decision was contained in a communique issued after its emergency meeting and signed by the NMA State Chairman Dr. Felix Achibong and Secretary Dr. Freeman Egbe. The NMA noted that all efforts made to ensure the release of its member has been futile. The association noted that it is aware that withdrawal of services would bring about hardship on the citizens, but appealed to the relevant security agencies to ensure a timely release of its abducted member. Meanwhile, medical experts have said that lack of patient education and access to funds are major challenges bedeviling Nigeria's health sector in the past 5 years. A consultant gynecologist and obstetrician, Dr. Abayomi Ajayi, who is also the managing director, Nodika Fertility Center, Lagos, said patient education is the major, as people who lack the basic knowledge of how their body system works will consider health care to be a doctor's business only. The fertility expert further noted that accessibility to health care is a big challenge in the country, as there have always been complaints that healthcare in Nigeria, like in other countries of the world, costs money. He urged the patients to get involved in anything that concerns their body because the burden would always be on them if there are mistakes. Let's head over now to Isaac for latest sports stories.
Well, thank you very much. In sports, Carlos Alcaraz yesterday became the first player to qualify for the ATP Finals when he defeated Novak Djokovic in a 5-set Wimbledon final for his second major title. The Spaniard, who has qualified for the ATP Finals for the second successive year, will make his debut at the elite event after withdrawing last year due to injury. The 2023 season finale will be played from the 12th to the 19th of November at the Pala Ortipo in Turin. Alcaraz this year leads the ATP Tour in both match wins, 47 wins and 4 losses, and winning percentage of 92%. He has lost before the semi-finals of the tournament just once in 2023. Alcaraz also leads the tour with 6 tour-level trophies this season. The 20-year-old has triumphed at a major trophy, 2 ATP Masters 1000 event, 2 ATP 500 event, and an ATP 250 event. The Spaniard is in first place at the ATP Live Racing Turin with 6,675 points, 730 points ahead of second place Novak Djokovic. Alcaraz is trying to claim ATP year-end number 1 for a second successive year. Djokovic is 825 points ahead of third place Daniil Medvedev. In football, Ethiopia's women's national team will set up a clash with the Nigeria Super Falcons in the next round of the 2024 Olympic Games qualifiers. The White Football team had earlier last thrashed 6-0 and made the second leg a mere walkover. At the Abebe Stadium in Addis Ababa, the Ethiopian team defeated Chad 4-0 in the second leg clash to qualify on a 10-goal aggregate. Skipper and Ethiopian Women's Player of the Year, Loza Abera, gave Ethiopia the lead after 11 minutes before Sena Fakuma scored a brace to take the match to 3-0 at halftime. Chiris Lena made it 4-0 for Ethiopia after 89 minutes. A total of 25 African teams entered the Paris Olympic qualifiers tournament, while 18 battling in the first round, the remaining 7 highly ranked teams joining in the second round. The 8 winners of the second round will progress to the third, then the fourth round, where the teams will be reduced to just 4. We're coming back further home. The head coach of Remo Stars Football Club, Daniel Ogumodede, has been fined 250,000 naira by the organizers of the Nigeria Super 8 tournament for inappropriate conduct during the final match on Sunday at the Mobolaji Johnson Arena in Lagos. Remo Stars lost a final match to Sporting Lagos via penalty shootout after both teams ended regular time with a 1-1 draw. Organizers of the tournament, in a statement on Monday, said the fine is on account of Ogumodede's decision to order his players off the pitch over an officiating call he disagreed with. The players, however, ignored the order, electing to continue playing the match, which they lost 2-4 on penalties after a 1-1 draw. The Nigeria Super 8 was held from the 7th to the 16th of July, with the final match drawing an attendance figure that many observers said they had not seen in ages in Lagos State. Well, finally, from the transfer scene, everything goes according to plan. Wilfred Didi may likely be playing his football in Turkey next season. Didi, who has been a household name in English Premier League, had a season to forget last campaign as incessant injuries affected his performance at Leicester City. The Foxes suffered relegation last season, and several top players are already leaving the team for other teams. Turkey Super League side Fenerbahce are already making plans to table an offer for Ndidi. He was in action for Foxes last weekend in a preseason game against Nottingham Forest, and he was even the captain in that game, but Leicester ready to offload the man and let him go to Turkey. But that's it from sport. My name is Isaac. Over now to Simon Oko for entertainment news.
Well, thank you, Isaac. In the world of entertainment, popular media personality Ebuka Obi Uchendu has described fame as a necessary evil that comes with having a career that is public. He said he has never courted fame, stressing that he does not enjoy being famous. While admitting that there are benefits that come with fame, Ebuka said that left for him, he would choose his career and the monetary benefits and boycott fame. The 41-year-old media guru revealed that he doesn't enjoy his birthday anniversaries. According to him, he reflects on his life journey during his birthday anniversaries. He said, looking at his life, there is still more to achieve. The popular media personality and former Big Brother Naija Season 1 housemate Ebuka Obi Uchendu revealed his all-time favorite participants of the reality TV show. He said his favorites are the housemates who ended up surprising him. Still on Big Brother, former Big Brother Naija housemate Hermes Chibueze Iyele has revealed that his mom not being present in his life while growing up greatly affected his adult life. Hermes said his dad raised him and his siblings single-handedly but instructed them never to hate their mom. The star recalled how he used to be heartbroken when other students' mothers came for PTA meetings and his mom never showed up. In the world of movies, Kunle Afolayan's Anikulapo Rise of the Spectre has wrapped production. The filmmaker took to social media to share the good news. The upcoming project is a sequel to the award-winning 2022 movie. It is written by Shola Dada, who wrote the initial feature, Anikulapo Rise of the Spectre takes you on a journey through time, exploring the concept of reincarnation and the idea that our souls are connected across lifetimes. The sequel welcomes back some familiar faces from the original cast, like Bimbo Ademoye, Shola Shobowale. New additions include Lateef Adedimeji and Gabriel Afolayan. The series comes after the success of Anikulapo, which ranked #1 globally on Netflix with 8,730,000 views in less than 2 weeks. The mystical period film recently emerged as the star of the night at the 2023 African Magic Viewers' Choice Awards AMVCA. Afolayan's Anikulapo took home multiple awards, including Best Movie in Africa, Best Writer, and Best Soundtrack. Anikulapo Rise of the Spectre is a 4-part original series that is headed straight to Netflix. Away from that now, Victory Bakara, one of the contestants for the Nigerian Idol Season 8 edition, has emerged winner of the show, walking away with 100 million naira grand prize. This was announced by Ikponwosa Osakudiowa, popularly known as IK, the host of the show, during the grand finale held in Lagos on Sunday. Bakara 25 is walking away with 35 million naira cash prize with a brand new SUV, 1-year supply of bigger drinks, a week getaway holiday to Cape Town, 1-year supply of wild detergents and other prizes. Performances on the live show were judged by the viewers, who hold the power to retain and evict contestants through their votes. After 5 weeks of audition and theatre week performances, 10 contestants were adjudged best performances by the trio of Obiasika, Dibanj, and Simi. Let's take a move now into the international scene. Ex-best friends Kylie Jenner and Jordyn Woods are trending after being spotted hanging out all smiles during the dinner in Los Angeles, USA. This is the first time the two have been seen publicly hanging out since the 2019 scandal when their friendship ended. Back in 2019, the internet was shocked when Woods was accused of having an intimate relationship with the then boyfriend of Khloe Kardashian, Tristan Thompson. According to TMZ, Tristan had flown into Los Angeles to spend Valentine's Day with Khloe and their daughter. True, a few days later, he attended a party where he was spotted getting all cuddly with Woods. TMZ sources say the two couldn't get their hands off each other throughout. As a result of this, Woods was excommunicated from the Kardashian-Jenner family, and her close-knit friendship with Kylie crumbled. Given this new update, it might be safe to assume that the two are now on good terms again. And that's it on entertainment. My name is Simon Oko. Back to you, Xavier Robert.
That's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. You've been watching Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert. Wishing you a terrific night rest. Bye-bye.